Hello, everyone, and welcome to Momentum Finance channel. My name is Mo, and in this video, I'm super happy to have one of the other amazing guests that I've got to know through Blossom. His name is Ade. Welcome to the show, Ade.
Thank you, Mo. Thank you for the invite. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. I know before the call we were chatting a little bit about, getting to know each other through Blossom. You were also talking a little bit about that you're probably not so active on social media, but Blossom.
I
So,
know,
yeah.
I know.
So
Only Blossom.
yeah, I
I'm
feel
only
very
on
fortunate now
Blossom.
being able to talk to you here. So I know on Blossom, I've read your posts. I love the wisdom that you bring to the table, but also along with that, you bring that positivity and sense of encouragement. Because many times
Thank
when we
you.
are starting out as investors on this journey, we also need folks that are able to guide us, support us, but also encourage us because
Thank
those
you.
baby steps are super important and goes a long way in building the foundation for success. So thanks for
Yes,
bringing that
yes.
positivity to the journey.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Why
Thank
don't we
you.
start there? I know one of the posts that I've come across on Blossom, and in fact, is one of the most popular posts on Blossom. You made a post called "Simplicity of Investing." In there, you talked about different popular ETFs that are out there for passive investors. You talked about different variations of them for depending like U.S. market, dividend market, and Canadian stock market, and so on and so forth. I think that's so fitting for us to talk a little bit about your own journey. It seems like these days you also invest a lot more on ETFs, but was it how you started? Tell us a little bit more how and when you got started and how did your journey evolve over time?
Oh, man, that's
Mhm.
that's a long story. But first of all, let me say I'm very honored that post was well received. So that was unexpected. So, and I'm happy that people actually find it very helpful. So, what I wanted to do, I wanted to share what I've learned, and just to see how I myself can also improve. As a community, we need to improve and get better over time, right? So, currently, I'm an index investor. Okay. So, but since my household currently, our portfolio is in 90% index fund
Mhm.
and 10% individual. So we didn't start that way. So we started a while back. So the journey was about 17 years ago,
Oh wow.
right? Yeah. So strangely enough, I didn't know anything about investing. Never heard of stock market, nothing like that. I didn't grow up from the finance background, no finance background at all. So, but about 17 years ago, I moved to Calgary from Regina. Okay, so I used to bank with PC Financial.
Hmm.
So they have a free banking, so you don't have to pay to bank. So when I came to Calgary, I applied for a credit card. They said no. They didn't give me any reason for saying no. I didn't know why. So eventually I called them. They said, we cannot be the first one to offer you credit. You don't have credit history. So I went to TD and TD said, if you deposit $500, we will give you credit card. I'm like, okay, so they would tie the $500 down
Hmm.
and then they would give me a credit card that would get my credit going. So that's how I started, right? And then after I opened the account and I started it, I was spoken to at the bank about investing. So I have no idea what it is. So I went home, I talked to my roommate. He said, yes, you need to invest. So when they talk to you, just say aggressive. I'm like, okay. So I went back, we opened an account. I have no idea what it was. So we opened an account. This was 2007, right?
Yeah.
So we opened an account and then that was it. So I put some money there and I did a little bit of research. So I was more into computer. So I built my own computer, play a lot of video games and all of that,
Okay.
right? So I know about a computer, I know Microsoft.
Hmm.
So when I was looking through that investment, I saw Microsoft. I'm like, okay, this is good. So this might be a good thing. So I put a little bit in every now and then. And 2008 happened,
Oh no.
the market went down. I have no
Yeah.
idea what was going on. I don't know what it was. I'm like, okay, I guess I was wrong. So I sold everything.
Oh
I
no. Oh
sold it.
no.
And I just sat on it.
Oh.
I just sat on the last sideline. I didn't invest. And that was it. So I was on the train one time, and this is 2009. And I met a guy that talked to me about life insurance.
Mhm.
So I went to his office. I like what he was saying. I'm like, hey, this is good. He talked about compound with a 7% compound interest in the life insurance. You don't need to do anything else. There's it's universal life insurance. So I was sold. I got up. I mean, I set it up. My wife was also was in there, so we set it up. We were doing life insurance,
Mhm.
and then over time, I realized, look, I think I need to do more. The more I learn, the more I realize I need to do more. So we got married. I think it was August 2021 that we got married. And then in November, we needed to go to back to Nigeria to go do another marriage for the family, right?
Mhm.
We didn't have money. So I talked to the guy, the insurance guy. He said you can open RRSP and borrowed money. So I borrowed 25,000 from RRSP
Mhm.
and we did it for a wedding.
Mhm.
So paying that money back was a form of me having an RRSP. That's how I got into
Mhm.
RSP, right? The more I learn about it, I've heard investment from different people, but I don't know what it was. I heard different names, right? But I have no idea what it was, right? So now that I'm paying that debt, and then 2007 rolls in, we were like almost $75,000 in debt,
Wow.
right? So so we started tackling the debt, we started paying it off, right? And then so after we finished paying off the debt, and I think it was around 2019, that was when I heard about TFSA,
Mhm.
right? It was just somebody talking about it. He said he was
Wow.
going to sell Apple. I'm like, okay, TFSA. So I called the insurance guy. I'm like, I need to open a TFSA account. So we opened it 2019. Then if you see the market has been going up to a degree, the RRSP wasn't moving up. So when I look at the calculation, it was going up by almost 3%. But that's what I thought the market does. The
Mhm.
market goes up by 3%, right? So we started the TFSA. My wife joined into, she started IRSP. I was the only one with TFSA, but we both
Mhm.
have RSP. So, but it wasn't doing well, like I said. Then COVID happened. That really helped us pay down the debt. So we really reached through the debt. We started getting into personal finance at
Yeah.
that time when we were paying out the debt, right?
Mhm.
So I watched a lot of YouTube. I did all of that. So we paid down the debt. Then 2020, it was when everything changed. So I called a friend of mine. I got an offer from RBC for line of credit. I didn't know what to do about it. So I called him,
Mhm.
like, yo, what do you think about this?
Mhm.
So we talked about it, and then he told me, like, yo, I've heard about this app called Well Simple. If you remember, there was a time we talked about opening an account with ED Web Broker, and I told you that the commission was very high, not to
Mhm.
worry about it. But Well Simple charge you no commission. I'm like, hey, I'll be in your house tomorrow, right? So I finished work. It was December. It was December 2021. So I finished work. I went to his house, showed me the app. So we set it up. Right away, I bought, it was Air Canada that I bought. I bought Air
Mhm.
Canada. And then the following day, I bought VAV,
Mhm.
right? So the plan was I was going to build a portfolio. So I
Mhm.
bought TD, I bought Enbridge. It was all individual fund,
Mhm.
right? But so whatever, when I have any change, put it on VAV. That was what I
Mhm.
was doing. Individual fund, extra change, VAV.
Yiffy.
Yeah. So that was in December. And then when I started looking at it, I was hearing about beta, account statement of account,
Mhm.
IPO, bear market, bull
Mhm.
market. It makes no sense to me. But I started reading. I started watching videos. Then I got deep into it. So every day I'm watching video, I'm reading, I'm doing all of that. So I'm like, you know what? I think it's time for us to get serious.
Mhm.
So I got it. I learned about MER.
Mhm.
So the insurance, the account that we have was charging close to 3.5% MER,
Wow.
right? That is why it was only doing like 3%, 4%
Yeah. No
average.
wonder.
Exactly, right? So I called the guy. I'm like, dude, I need to move.
Mhm.
So I went to TD, right? So I talked to TD. I said, I need to move. So I was talking to the guy, and then I heard there was a financial advisor at TD. They charge 1%. I'm like, 1% is better than 3%.
Mhm.
So we went there. But I think you need to have close to 100,000, right? So I did everything. I scraped everything that I could scrape just to make that amount.
Mhm.
So we went there, we talked to her, and she was like, you seems to know a lot. I'm like, just 4 months of research. That's it. I know nothing. 4 months of research, right? So we started, she opened the account. As soon as I saw the account, it looked simple. When I saw web broker,
Mhm.
never seen it before. I'm like, then my wife looked at it. My wife is like, you could do this. I'm like,
Mhm.
no, I don't trust myself. She's like, nope, I trust you. We need to do this. So I went to them. I went back to the advisor. Like, you know what? We decided, I think we need to take care of this by ourselves. And then she goes, Ade, I don't want to lose your business, but you don't need me. That was just a boost of confidence for me. So I'm like, you know,
And that's
at that
honest on
point,
them, on their part. That's nice of them to say that because
right?
sometimes
Yeah,
like the advisors are like, oh no, you don't got this. You know, they're trying to be very selfish, but they know like, investing doesn't
you're
have to be
right.
complex.
You're right. You're right. Right. So so we left at that time. I knew the wheel has to come up. I'm like, okay, you know what, we can do this. So we went with TD. We started with dividend fund with TD, and then on RRSP fund on RRSP side, we were doing it was S&P 500.
Hmm.
There was a mutual fund index fund, right?
Okay.
But on Wealthsimple, we were only doing individual fund. Only just a small amount on Wealthsimple, individual fund, right? So the more I read, the more Wealthsimple kind of grew on me. The
Hmm.
more I wanted to kind of take a plunge and actually do it myself. So over time, started going more into index fund. And then I sold the dividend fund, bought index. When I got comfortable with Wealthsimple, we moved everything and went to Wealthsimple. So we're fully Wealthsimple right now. So we're doing 90% index and 10% individual fund. I still enjoy the individual fund though. It's pretty fun. Like, I mean, imagine when you go out, right? It's fun to talk about Tesla, to talk about
Yeah.
what TD is going through right now. But then when you mention VAV, people's like, well, what is
What is
that?
that?
When you mention SCQT, like, well, what what I'm saying, right? So yeah, so that
Yeah.
was the journey, and that's how we got here.
That's amazing how that journey started, like, a long time ago and then how it evolved. I appreciate you
Mhm.
walking us through it. And I agree with your notion as well. Like, when you talk about baskets of fund, index fund or ETFs or whatnot, it may not have that kind of like an allure to it. Like, oh, what is that? But at the end of the day, I'm glad to hear that as well. Like, big portion of your funds are in that because, at the end of the day, yeah, it's fun to have individual stocks, but I don't think it's as easy to really be able to consistently pick winning stocks, but it's fun for sure.
Yes, yes, yeah. A lot of people don't realize that. Yeah. And I think that's one of the reasons why people give up on it because when it doesn't work out, when your portfolio drop by 40%,
Hmm.
then you're a little bit surprised. What should I do now? Right. So
Are they in what it's just building on that piece that you kind of self-taught yourself, like that knowledge of investing, knowledge of finances, debt reconciliation, and managing all of your finances. I know in a recent post, it really stood out for me because for those who've been following my journey, they know that my wife and I, we have a newborn daughter. Like now she's almost 8 months. But um, that post of you really stood out for me because you were talking about how you and your partner have started teaching your, I believe, 8 and 10-year-old kids about investing and financial literacy, roughly about a year ago, I think, or
yes.
so. What motivated you actually to do so? And what were some of your key learnings as parents?
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I like that question. So actually, the kids are 9-11 now. They're growing so fast. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So, so what happened was because we didn't have the financial background, so we learned pretty late. So we wanted to get them started. So, but we know we're gonna get them started eventually. So, but what happened was we were driving home one time and the little one, so we drove past McDonald's. So the little one said, can we get McDonald's? And I just looked at him and I said, sorry, I don't have money. He goes, you don't need money. You just give them your card and then they give you the food. I'm like, okay, we need to start, right? So I'm like, no, there is money in that card. That card is not just a card. So that's how we started with them. So we thought, you know what? If you get them started early, we can actually give them an advantage, right? So that was the motivation
Yeah.
to getting started. Yeah.
What were
So
some of the key learnings from that journey? I know you did it at least for a year, probably even until today. What were some of the kind of aha moments that you went through it?
yeah, so the aha moment was, yeah, the mind. I mean, the kids' mind is like a sponge. They absorb a lot, right? And they actually teach you. They teach you a lot. They keep you on your toes,
Yeah.
and they question everything, right? So Another thing is they force you to think outside the box. So there was the last time we were talking about diversifying your portfolio.
Hmm.
Don't put your egg in one basket. I think I posted that on Blossom. And the little one, when we're talking about it, we say, okay, if you put your egg in one basket, the basket fall, the head will
Hmm.
break. And the little one said, well, what if it's boiled egg?
Yes.
Right? I'm
Yes.
like, how do I respond to that? Like, what if they boiled eggs, right?
Yeah.
So the mom stepped in. She explained, she said, no, if it's boiled egg, if you put it all together, if it fall, you will get cracked, it will still get dirty. So you still want to separate them in a different basket. So, and then they actually understand the concept.
Hmm.
Sometimes it takes time. It takes time for them to get it. You just got to take it slow with them, just repetition, repetition, repetition. Yeah,
It's
that was it.
so crucial. What are some of your kind of uh, tips and tricks or kind of advice for new parents, like folks like myself and my wife and many other new parents that are out there, in terms of the importance of teaching financial literacy to kids?
So you need to start early. That is the key. So the earlier they learn, it's easier for them to get the concept of it, right? So, and I mean, the Canadian government helping out in that department to a degree. So with the RESP,
Hmm.
right? So I encourage every parent start RESP. You get grant, you get $500 a month a year if you put in 2,500, right? So that really helped. That's a good incentive because by the time they go to school, they're already way ahead of their peers, right? So you want to set them up
For
in that.
success.
So for us, for her daughter, we started. She was born in November. We started RRSP in January,
Amazing.
right? But then for my son, he was born. We didn't start. He was born 2026, but we didn't start until 2029 because at that time we were owing so much money. We were knee deep in debt, so we were trying to get rid of the debt. So we didn't start him earlier, but he's catching up,
Hmm.
right? So with the fact that we are like doing it ourselves now, we're paying less fees, and that helping him to catch up actually. Yeah. So that was it. And then for the parent too, when you're talking to the kid, you need to talk to them about everything. They might not understand it, but everything, debt, savings, investment. It's a difficult question, difficult topic, but it gets easier over time,
As you
right?
go through it, the different topics.
Exactly.
Yeah.
As you go through, yeah, and spend time on it. Like the book that we went through, it took us a whole year to go through the book. So we go through like every edit, not every chapter, like each edits we go through. Like sometimes they get stuck onto one topic and they will ask you a question.
Hmm.
Like I mentioned, we're talking about debasement, inflation and everything. It was a whole week topic, debasement,
Hmm.
debasement, debasement, right? So don't get overwhelmed, you know, stay consistent and take it slow with them. And sometimes whenever they find a piece that's really fun for them, just own on it, like just kind of deep down into that fun part of it, that will carry them into the next lesson, right? So yeah,
Some great
that's
advice, Ade. Some great advice. We're definitely looking
thank
forward
you.
to incorporating some of those as Maya, our daughter, grows a bit more. Like we're looking forward to incorporating that in her
Yes,
upbringing as well. Uh,
exactly.
what are some of your thoughts? I know you also started like investing more of a, I would say, pretty much in a not knowing what you were getting yourself into and then gradually finding your way through it. So, what are, based on that journey that you've been through, what are some of your key takeaways and advice for those who are trying to get started with investing? What are some of the first steps that you say that they need to consider and take into account as they want to start investing in the stock market?
For me, the first thing is you have to track your expenses. That's the first thing, right? Because you have to remember what doesn't get tracked doesn't get measured.
Hmm.
What doesn't get measured doesn't get managed, right?
Hmm.
So you have to track your expenses. So it's not easy, right? So we use an app, right? Every penny that goes in and out get tracked, right? So we don't do a full budget of we only spend 2,000 a month. We don't do that. So what we did is we just track everything.
Hmm.
So we know what we have left, we know what goes out and what comes in, and that kind of help us cut back a little bit, right? So and a good pen and paper works. Like if you have an app that you wanted to use, and some banking now, they do allow you to actually track your
Credit
spending.
card expenditures and
Right,
all this.
exactly
Yeah.
right. Yeah. So you can use that. So, and then the second thing, you got to pay down the debt. You got to pay it off. So high interest debt, student loan. I mean, mortgage takes time. That one is good.
Hmm.
So I'm not gonna
Yeah.
say people should just
Yeah.
go out and pay off their mortgage, right? But especially credit card,
Hmm.
right? So I know there's a two different method that people use, like avalanche and snowball, right? So avalanche is when you pay off the high interest one first, and then snowball is when you pay the smaller one first. So avalanche is what we use, right? So and some bank people too, sometimes they do balance transfer.
Yeah.
So you go to them, you pay instead of 19% on your credit card, you could pay maybe 2% or 3%, and then they'll give you maybe zero interest for a whole year. That help pay less interest in that department. And then once all of that is done, you have to build an emergency fund, right? So you could start small, maybe $1,000 or maybe a month worth of living expenses to start with. And then over time, you can build it. So usually, I mean, the professional recommend around 3 to 6 months, right? So if your job is pretty secure and easy to find a job, right? I think you can get away with 3 months. But if it's one of those lucrative jobs that is going to take you time to get a job, then you want to increase that, you know? So, so that was that. And then you have to stay consistent. That is it. Consistency is the key. Okay. So one thing with emergency fund, remember what Mike Tyson said. Okay? Everybody has a plan until you get punched in the mouth, right?
Yeah.
So yeah. So life will throw stuff at you, but emergency fund will keep you grounded, help you weather this storm, right? Things will happen. I mean, your car is going to break down unexpectedly. Now you need to pay for it. Emergency fund will help you with that. Because if the market is down, you invest in the stock market, market is down, then you need to sell at loss. With the emergency fund, you don't have to do that, right? So, and then after all of that is done, then you start investing, right? So, and then when you start investing, you start small. So people go in, they go big, like, oh, go big or go home, right? So they go big, they get stuck, they can't maintain it, they pull back or they lose interest, right? But if you start small, small like the amount that you can actually consistently stick with.
Mhm.
So there was a lady at my work, we were talking, I told her we need to, it was just a savings. This wasn't even an investment, which is saving account. Like, well, I don't have money, I don't have money. And I told her, okay, how much can you save? She goes, well, 25. She was reluctant to say 25. I'm like, okay,
Mhm.
25, let's do 25. We set it up, automatic withdrawal, it goes into a savings account. I think it was EQ Bank at that time. Right? And then she came to me, she goes, Ade, can you believe I've increased it to 50?
Mhm.
I'm like,
Mhm.
what? She goes, I checked my account, it was 400. I'm like, I didn't know it
Mhm.
would be that much. Just that little bit amount make a huge difference. So that was what happened in there. So yeah, and then you got to uh, so when you start, I mean, if you can do 10%, that is recommended.
Mhm.
If you can go higher, good, but 10% is ideal. Even if you can do less than that, you can, that's fine. You can do less than that just to start with. Then once you get used to all of that, once you started, you have to automate your investment. Set it and forget it, right? Set it and forget it. So much easier. And we have to keep that in mind. Pay yourself first,
Mhm.
right? Pay yourself first. Because when we pay bills, right? A lot of people actually don't miss their bill payments. They pay their cell phone bill on time, they pay their light bill on time, they pay everything on time. But then when they do all of that, it's when they remember, if I have any extra left, I will invest. But if you put a little bit of money aside alongside those bill payments, you're not gonna forget it. So you spend whatever is left. You don't pay everything first, and then you think about investment later, right? So that was what I would say for people that are wanting to get into investing.
So important to kind of automate it to your point and make it into like a habit, a healthy habit for
Yes.
your own financial future, for your own, for your essentially for your future. And it's amazing that the story of your colleague, the lady you talked about, like, no matter, even though it seemed like very small amount, but as they did start on that, when they looked back at that progress, that was really reassuring for them. And that kind of motivated
Exactly.
them to kind of build on that. Because, and to your point,
Exactly.
like, had they waited, like, oh, 25 is not enough, I have to be able to put aside 100. Maybe they would never
Yes.
get to that point.
They'll
So the
never
baby
get there.
steps are
Yes.
super, super crucial. What are some
Yes.
of the common myths and misconceptions about stock market investing that you've kind of encountered so far, Ade? Are there things that come to your mind?
Oh, the big one is just like
Hmm.
what you said. I don't have enough money.
Yeah.
That's the big one. I don't have enough money, right? So I will start when I have $500. I will start when I have 100, right? So you got to start. When you start, that motivates you to keep going. Like, strangely enough, the app like Well Simple, you could buy stock for like $1,
Yeah.
you know? Yeah. So, and you start with any amount, any dollar. So that will get you started. And then the second one is the stock market is a scam or is gambling. That's another one that I heard a
Yeah, we
lot.
hear it. Yeah.
Yeah. But I understand though. Like imagine you paying like 3% MER, you paying 2% MER, right? Yeah, you will say since when somebody come to you and said, well, the market did 30% this year. And then you look at your account, well, you did nothing, right? Like there was somebody that told me that, oh, TFSA is a stupid TFSA scam because they just kept the money in a savings account. It wasn't getting anything. At the bank, they were getting 0.01. But they were hearing all these stories about, people doing pretty well, 7%, 10%, and they got nothing. So like, nope, TFSA sucks, right?
Hmm.
So that was it. And then I already touched on it is, oh, it's only 2%, right? The MER, they're like, oh, it's only 2%. Well, I don't mind. Somebody manage it for me. I pay 2%. I'm like, 2% is roughly 50% of your gain that you're losing. You're not losing 2%. You're losing close to 50% of your gain when you pay 2% in fees. So that
And the
was those
compound effect of that too, right? Like that fee,
mm,
it may not sound much, but like when you compare it to what you would get if you were to able to easily do it yourself on, to be honest with you, it doesn't have to be complex. You're probably sometimes
exactly,
paying 50 to 100 times more in fees than what you would be able to do it easily by
exactly,
on your own.
exactly. There was a time I did a calculation.
Hmm.
I was just putting some number there. I was looking at it like imagine somebody that started with maybe 300,000,
Hmm.
right? And then they invested that for 25 years. They will lose with, I think it was 2% that we did. At the end of the day, they will lose close to 1.2 million.
Wow.
Yeah. So it
Over
wasn't,
time.
it's
Wow.
not small. Yeah. It's not just 2%.
That's,
It's your
yeah, that's
entire
amazing.
retirement portfolio. Yeah.
I don't know
So
where I saw it, but there was like some sort of infographic or some sort of chart that I think it was made by Well Simple or somebody along some other organization along the same lines talking about like, oh, good for you. Like, you're paying this fee or high fee, whereas you could do it a lot less. You're just bought your financial advisor a Tesla or a fancy
yeah.
car or something like that,
Yes,
over the
yes,
years.
yes,
They would be very
yes.
happy to have you on
They are
in their
beyond. Yes,
portfolio. Yeah.
yes.
Awesome. The other question that I had for you as well, like, we talked about importance of getting educated, importance of, starting early, starting small, not diving into it without really having some levels of education. Are there some tools, resources out there that you've come across, Ade, that you would recommend to others? Like, whether it could be a book, podcast, video, whatever it might be, or applications. We would like to hear from you. What are some of those resources that you would recommend?
Okay, so yeah, no, that's a good one. The first thing I would say for anyone that wanted to improve their financial literacy is to subscribe to your YouTube video and follow you
Thanks,
and
Ade.
follow you on Blossom.
I
That's the
appreciate
first
it.
thing. You got to
They
follow
should follow
Mo.
you too, yeah. But no, a good shout out for Blossom.
Thank
Like,
you.
Ade and I, we met each other through Blossom app. So it's an app that was actually created by some genius, smart people here in Canada, actually. Maxwell and then Brandon Beavis as well joined. So amazing folks. I think right now they have more than 150,000
Yeah, yeah, it's amazing. It's
investors
amazing.
and
It's growing. It's
participants
growing
from
so
across,
fast.
yeah, US and Canada for sure. I hope one day they also
Yes,
expand to other parts of the world. But yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
Yes. No, no, it's an amazing place to be. Yeah, it's an amazing community. Yeah.
definitely.
So the second thing I would say is read. You have to read books, yeah, or listen to audiobooks, right? So personally, I love audiobooks. Like I prefer audiobooks. Like when I'm driving, I'm listening. I'm doing my workout, I'm listening. Doing some house chores, I'm listening. Find that easier. So you won't believe this. Okay. Since June 2022,
Yeah.
I have listened to 102 audiobooks.
What? That sounds amazing. Wow.
Thank you.
Wow.
Right? So, so this is what got me motivated. There was a quote by Charlie Munger
Yeah.
that says, "In my whole life, I have known no wise people who didn't read all the time. None, zero,
Wow.
right? So I just read audiobooks, listen to watch a video online, Yahoo Finance, just kind of keep improving the knowledge, read a bunch of stuff on Blossom, just pass the idea through people, all of that, right? So the resources when you're getting started, uh, books like audio, paper book, whichever one is. The first book I would recommend is The Richest Man in Babylon. That was actually the first book that I read. That book actually help us save because it's a really good book, right? And then the book that changed our investment journey was The Little Book of Common Sense Investing by
Mhm.
John C. Bogle, right? To the point where I started calling myself Boglehead,
That's right.
right?
That's right. Yeah.
So that book, it breaks it down how much money you paying, just like what you say, how you buying your financial advisor, the Ferraris, you buying the
Yeah.
Tesla,
Yeah.
you're helping them with a private jet and all of that, right? So, and then the next one is One Up on Wall Street
Hmm.
by Peter Lynch, right? So it really tell you the advantage that you have as a retail investor. Like we don't know, we think the professional have all the advantage, but we actually have something to bring to the table, yeah. So the next one in line is The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel.
I
Everybody
love
has
that
to read
book.
that
Yeah.
book, right? Yeah, that's an amazing book. So this one is not finance. The last one is called Sapient.
Mm.
It's a story of humankind. You have to like
Mhm.
everything can't just be about finance. You have to know everything around you, politics. How did we get here? How did yours started? How did the economy started? We growing, our forefathers, the Homo sapiens, the Homo erectors. How do you all started? It's amazing book I recommend. It's called Sapient. So I can't, Yuval Noah Harari, probably butchering that name, but
Mhm. The authors.
it's an
Yeah.
amazing book. Yeah. So read a lot, watch new. I recommend Yahoo Finance, right? Stay informed and surround yourself with like-minded people, right? So it was a buddy of mine. It's like a brother to me. The guy that I told you that introduced me to Well Simple. We talk a lot. We bounce idea off each other, So you need people like that, people that will keep you grounded, people that will keep motivating you, right? So that's that. So and I mean, I know it's hard to find people like that in a out there, whatever, but Blossom, there's a people like that that share the same ideas with you.
It's an
Yes.
amazing community for essentially to get in touch and find a lot of like-minded folks that inspire each other. Thank you so
Mhm.
much, Ade, for joining this conversation. Do you have any final kind of thoughts or any biggest learnings in investing for like let's say the next 2 or 3 minutes that you can share with us
The
before we
share.
wrap up?
Oh,
Yeah.
we wrap up. Yeah. So one of the biggest thing that I've learned in investing is very simple, right? Very simple. Uh, not easy, but simple, right? So, and I remember this quote from Ben Felix, okay? Investing and being soft, right? So most professional don't beat index fund. So why are we picking stock, right? So even if you want to pick stock, keep it small. 10% of the portfolio. If you want to get a little bit aggressive, 15%, you know? And we need to keep in mind, boring is fun. It's boring,
Yeah.
but boring is fun, right? So the more you learn, the more you teach. So you got to teach people what you learn. It stick with you, right? So, and then the final thing too is you have to be your own person. Okay. So you are the CEO of your own portfolio. It's okay to listen to people, but you have to remember that it's called personal finance. Okay. So I will finish with this quote here. So in chapter 10 of a book called Team of Rivals, I'm not sure if you heard of the book. It's
No,
the
I'm not
story
sure.
of Abraham Lincoln.
No.
So, this was written about Abraham Lincoln. So his mind is at one philosophical and practical. He sees all who goes there, hears all they have to say, talk freely with everybody, read whatever is written to him, but think and act by himself and for himself. right? So we need
Independence.
to take it personal, right? Like I said before, is personal finance. So you need to find your own way. It's good to listen to people, but you need to realize that this is my journey. What is good for my family? That is how you, yeah, they approach
You
it.
have to take that ownership. One of the quotes I think you were mentioning also reminded me of the quote from Tony Robbins. I think I heard him saying that in one of his master classes. He was talking about you are the CEO of your own life. And
Yes.
what a powerful kind of mindset that is. Like essentially, we have to take that ownership. We have to take accountability for our own life, for our success. To your point, Ade, like starting small, but starting consistency, and educating yourself along the way. I love the fact that you've read to so many amazing books in such a
Thank
short
you.
span of time, and I think it's one of those cases probably as you build on it, like you get motivated, like oh I've done it, I want to build on it. Like what
Yes.
else can I
Yes.
do? How else can I? And I think it comes across as well in terms of your communication as well as how the wisdom that you impart on the community on Blossom. So thank you so much,
Thank
Ade,
you.
for your
Thank
time
you
this
very much.
morning on
I
a
appreciate
weekend.
it.
I really appreciate it. I really, like I said, I really enjoy reading through your contents on Blossom. Please
No,
keep doing
same
what
here.
you're doing
Same
on
here too.
Blossom. Stay in
Thank
touch.
you.
And I encourage everybody who's watching this video, if you haven't already done so, go on Blossom and follow Ade. You're definitely gonna enjoy and learn from his wisdom, and you can learn from many other amazing investors as well that we have on Blossom. It's a fantastic
Thank
community,
you.
and we build each other up, we support each other to all hopefully
Yes.
all reach our goals that we have for our families. Thank you so much,
Yes.
Ade, and I hope to see you
All right.
all
Thank you
again
very
next time.
much. Have a
Yeah,
good day. All right.
cheers, man.
Goodbye.
Yeah.